Well, good morning. Welcome to the Art of Fire Glassblowing Studio. I'm Bruce. I'll be doing the camera and some narration for you. And as you can see, we're housed in a former dairy barn. Although I imagine a lot of other barns besides dairy barns look like that. But let's go on in and take a look and see what's happening today. We got somebody with us. Identify yourself. Give us a shout out. Comment. That's what makes these videos fun, is the interaction with you guys. Okay, so we had a nice event this past weekend. The Countryside Artisans Tour had quite a few folks coming in. Good morning, Sharon. Good to have you with us. And as you can see, we got our gallery all shipshape. Renee, good to see you. Jim, good. Hello there, Jim. And here we go. In through the studio, Lynn Bear, good to see you. And Barbara Belzer, all righty. Joanna, good to have you. Everybody all on both sides of the Atlantic represented here today. Very good, very good. Okay, and hello to in Rockville to you, Marianne. Okay, so today's theme is trails, okay? And speaking of trailers, we have trailers for sale or rent, rooms to let for... Oh, wrong type of trail. Sorry about that. All right, these are going to be trails on glass, all right? It's done in a lot of different manners. If you're interested in seeing one that we won't demonstrate today, check out our YouTube video, which was recorded just a few moments ago. Foster did a lovely bowl. Instead of having a red background in the piece, he had a blue background, but there's an interesting technique that we use in that. We'll be showing you some vases and bowls today where you'll get the separated or dotted trails like you see in these bowls here, and a few raked through. And we've got our winner from last week on this little triangular vase was Vanessa Smith Fendison. I hope I'm saying that right, Vanessa. At any rate, the vase is yours. And this little fella right here is the giveaway for this week. So this one has a red background. It was dipped then in a gold frit, which is a reducing color, which changes its appearance once it's subjected to an oxygen-starved flame. And the lines you see through it are done by spreading clear glass around it. So again, if you want to see how that was done, check out our YouTube channel. We've got one on that. Alrighty, so today's idea is trails, and we're going to start off with, well, let's see what the list says. It says we're going to do a fishnet, a custom order, and Todd's going to be doing this. So let's go ahead on over here and check things out. Morning, Todd.
Yeah,
you want to give us a little rundown on this? No? Okay. Then yeah. I'll tell you. This is for, was this for Pam's sister Jennifer or Jennifer's sister Pam?
Yes.
One or the other. Okay, so.
This is for Jen's sister Karen. We did a fishnet last week. Yeah. So we're going to redo it. And we're going to make this pattern a lot more crisp and clear. One of the way we're going to do it is we're going to actually encase everything underneath the layer of clear. So we've still got the gray. We've still got this metallic blue that we're going to use, this gunmetal blue. Still got the fishnet pattern. We're just going to add one more layer of clear to kind of bind things in place just a little bit. So that's what we're working on today.
Okay, sounds good. And while we're looking at the comments here, we've got Tom Dunn and Amanda Possibly both saying good afternoon. And I'm just wondering where y'all are watching from that it's good afternoon. We have quite a few folks from the UK. Also, what badge is Todd wearing? Todd is wearing the badge that is a substitute for wearing an Art of Fire t-shirt. It identifies him as
saying. But I will compromise on.
All righty. So we know it's afternoon for Joanna already because she's in London. And we had a gentleman signed on as Tommy's Workshop from Yorkshire in the last video. So this is really pretty cool. We're getting folks from all around the world. All right. Tom Dunn is Tommy's Workshop. Okay, good enough. I do remember that. Okay, so now Todd's going to take a gather of clear glass. Our furnace holds about 400 pounds of molten glass. We melt clear glass because if we melted any one single color, for instance green, we'd be stuck with green all week. You can see as he turns the iron, the glass is moving a little bit. That's probably the hardest part of the glass blowing, is to control it, because when it's in such a fluid state, it wants to fall toward the floor all the time. Good morning, Rachel. Yes, and Barbara Belzer is the first one to say, Happy 420, everybody. Aha, yes indeed. Brought some smiles to the faces of the glass blowers. Okay. Now that he's shaped it and cooled it just a little bit, he's going to introduce a little compressed air, and there comes the bubble out into the glass. So reshape that a little bit before he takes his subsequent gather. Be sure to comment. Your comments get you entered into drawings to win the prize this week. And we like the shares and the likes also. When you share, darn that gravity. Yep, that's about right. It's tough. But that really is probably the hardest part of teaching people glass blowing, is to get them to pay attention to what the glass is doing and keep it from falling toward the floor. Now that he's got a second gather on there, he can begin with picking up the frit. Barbara Spitzer from Germany. Good. Well, we know it's afternoon there. Okay. All right. So, somebody asked a week or so ago, how come sometimes in the bowl and sometimes on the marver? It's just the artist's choice. Today is the Backstreet Boys' birthday. Well, I can tell you that today is Josh's daughter's birthday, but she's in school right now. But we're going to say happy birthday to Isabel anyway.
Happy birthday, Isabel.
You'll notice that Todd is holding the pipe at a bit of an angle, and that allows him to get full coverage of that frit as he taps it in the bowl. No, Ted, we're not making bongs for 420. David Hogan, cheers and lights. Yep. Oh boy. Okay, so after he gets coated in this frit, he'll be gathered again and going through. And I haven't seen Rude show up yet. Are you there with us, Rude? Alrighty, so now he's, that going to be about it for the gray? Okay, so he's got his first casing of frit on there. He's going to melt that in. Rude, welcome aboard. Okay, I was just asking about you, if you were here. There was one small detail. You had asked about making some of the tools we used, and one of them was the footboards. Josh, would you pick up the 2 footboards out of Foster's bucket, the small for the stems and the large for the feet? The one critical thing, while Todd's reheating, if you make these footboards, any of you glass blowers, you'll see that the lower pair of boards has a much wider opening. That's to put down on the bottom, say, of a bowl or vase. The ones with the smaller notches in it are for doing stemware, like goblets or something like that. So it does depend what you're going to make as to what you do with your footboards. These are made by just taking a hot iron and pressing it down, and then that cuts the little groove for you. You could use a larger iron or go at it many times to get the larger hole. So I wanted to let you all know about that. Todd's still in the process of shaping, getting this ready to move on. And sometimes when we gather a pretty fair amount of glass, it's a little bit too much to go into a bowl and gather the frit. So we like to have it spread out on the marver. And you can get a kind of idea of how large this gather will be by how Todd has spread the frit out on the marver down there. So he's going to use most of that layout of frit in order to cover his glass. He's wearing the live stream postcard. Yeah, that's what it is. Theta supplied that. Good. So anyway, now it's time for another gather of glass. He's looking for the secret pocket now. It's a good place to stash things. How many 420 references can we make today? All right, so this gather of glass is a good bit larger than he'd want to be going into the bowl to pick up the frit. Notice how he angles the pipe downward at the back end, raising the front, and that gets his coverage close to the pipe. Now, oh come on, somebody say something about pipes. All right, so now he's getting the front end of the piece covered, and you'll notice it's moving quite a bit because it's so very, very hot. Had he started in this profile first, the glass could have run away from the pipe a great deal because it's so hot. Pointing it straight downward allows him to cover the end of the piece. Yes, perhaps we will go one toke over the line, Barbara Belzer. We can always count on you, David Hogan, and a few others. All right. Once he's got the, how big will this piece be? As big as it wants to get. Nah, probably be about, is this a cylindrical seat? 12, 14 inches somewhere. Won't go more than 14 inches because that's the height of our annealer. Remember to like, share, and comment. Comments are what gets you entered in the drawing. Our giveaway this week is going to be a small fan vase that is a red base covered with gold that's been reduced, and then with a clear trail through it. I'll show you that in a moment. Right now, Todd's marvering the outboard edge of the piece. That's going to cool it significantly. Now when he marvers the part near the pipe, it gives it a better shaping. And you'll see it has a bit of a diamond shape as he now rolls the middle. And he's going to come pretty soon to a shape that's like a football. That would be a U.S. football for those of you in the U.K. and other parts of Europe, because we know that you refer to something else as a football. Properly so. I understand there's a lot of controversy, or I guess maneuvering going on with the professional leagues championship. All right, so he gets this nicely shaped up, and this is going to aid in working the rest of the glass. We get a specific shape to this glass. Right now he's test fitting it. Make sure he'll get into the optic mold. While he's reheating, we'll give you a quick view of this week's prize. It's this fan vase right here. You can see the gold in the midst there, the clear trail throughout that lets you peek through, and then the red background. Todd's using a mold we call an optic mold or a dip mold. Its purpose is not to shape the piece. The purpose is to put in a design. So the optic mold, yeah, Amanda, it does look a little bit like an Easter egg on a pipe. All right, so into the mold it goes, seated firmly, blow real hard, and when he comes out, you'll see the ridges in it. And there we go. There's the ridges from the optic mold. Now to apply more heat, and he'll start to twist. So who was it in the last video that asked me with no chubby checker, or maybe earlier in this one? Yep, he's feeling groovy, David Hogan. All right, so here he goes with the twisting by leaving it in contact with the marver and turning in one direction only. The friction between the marver and the surface of the glass twists what were straight lines into diagonals. Alrighty. Back in for more heat. We'll see if he gives it more twist, or as he did last week, he goes into the mold for another application of the ridges and twists. So if we're going to do a double twist on this, no, David, the Widdershins are next, I believe. Yes, okay. So lots of times if we're going to do a double twist on it, on this first one, we might go a little bit further than we normally would, because the next twist in the opposite direction will actually undo this a very small amount. Checking his fit again. It needs to go down in there. When it goes in hot and he blows, he'll have vertical lines established, but they won't be running exactly counter to that first set he's just twisted. So by twisting in the opposite directions, Widdershins, as we like to say around here. Actually, I'm the only one that likes to say it. I don't think I've heard any of the others use that word. Anyway, when he twists it the other direction, it'll unwind the original twist just a little bit. When we're going into the optic mold like this, we want to get it hot so it's almost dripping right in. You can see the intense heat in that glass. It even elongates as he pushes downward. And now when he blows hard, then comes out, we'll see the straight lines. And you can see the intersections with the other lines below. Still a beautiful pattern right there. But by twisting the opposite direction, counterclockwise if we must. Yes, Joanna, Widdershins, yes. All right, so by doing that, we'll get the nice crisscross pattern that he's looking for. So we're back to the marver again, making contact with the metal table, and that friction is what does the twist. And you can see it taking place right now. When he rolls in both directions like that, he's simply straightening the sides and making sure everything's symmetrical. And now, as you look, you can probably catch a good view of the crisscross pattern in there. And there he goes. Yeah. Great. Okay, so there's a crisscross pattern in it. Beautiful design. Now it's a matter of marvering and shaping. Once he gets the exact shape he wants, yes, Bridget. Bridget says, come on, baby, let's do the twist. Oh, that's a nice move there, Todd. You should amplify that a little bit. Yeah, Kristen, it is going to look amazing. Now, Lynn Bear, is that yum in relation to the vase? Or Todd's little dance move? Okay, so it's going to get this nice and hot, get this all worked out. He'll now use the block or the newspaper. Okay, he needs a bigger block. Just like the Captain. No, it wasn't the Minnow. That was a 3-hour tour. Just like the Captain in Jaws, he's going to need a bigger boat. Okay. What he's getting ready for right now is shaping, gathering. He's going to block things out and then take another gather. The blocks, as we've mentioned before, good morning, Jeanette. The blocks, as we've mentioned before, are typically made of fruit wood. These are made of cherry wood. They have a nice tight grain. The cup is shaped while the wood is still green or wet. And then once it's shaped, it's held in water forever until we quit using it. This keeps it from cracking. And the nice thing about this is the steam that's created from the hot glass touching that wet wood acts kind of like a bit of a lubricant to help it roll along smoothly. Without that, it would likely stick to the wood, leave a lot of bad marks. Tape the label on his shirt. No, I think he likes it flapping around. He's got a lot of friends in the studio that have offered to put it in place with a stick pin, but that so far that hasn't been anything he's interested in.
You can see the other side.
Actually, if it was large enough and centered just under the collar, it could serve as a mask. Oh, Barbara Belzer suggests a staple gun. Wow, I thought she was our friend. Duct tape, there you go. That's always good for anything. Duct tape, rubber bands, and paper clips, the only tools you ever need. Okay. So all of that time on the Marver was to shape and cool, stabilize. He's going to use our pipe cooler right now before he goes and gathers. We know you're our friend, Barbara. We truly enjoy the sick sense of humor. Fits right in with everything we do. Josh brings over a larger block. Todd will be gathering over that and then coming back and shaping the glass. Gonna let it cool a minute. Take a quick swig from his wink wink coffee cup. And now it's time to just pause for the cause. If we gather while it's too hot, the glass will collapse back in. And it can even let it cool even more. It can use the Sophietta, which is basically a puffer. And that's going to cool the end of it. It wants that to really pretty much have reached the point that it's stopped moving at all and it's pretty stable. That way he knows when he coats it with a large gather of 2,000-degree glass, it's not going to distort the shape. And if he were to hang it down to strip the glass off while it was still hot, it would actually kind of start pulling the piece with it. So we've got the piece cool enough, into the furnace we go. Now if he goes to a high angle with his hands, he's stripping it back into the furnace. Then he may come level and strip more into the bucket, because folks always love to see that. The glass is so fluid it just runs right off. Then when he brings it up to horizontal, it burns itself away, and now he's got just the right amount of glass to make what he wants. If there's a little bit of extra off the end, he simply takes the shears, peels it off, and then cuts it. Now the center core of that gather was very cold. The outside, extremely hot. It's really important to get these temperatures equalized before he starts creating the vessel.
What's that? Was that from downtown or was that 2 or 3? That was definitely 3.
Snap, crackle, and pop. That's right, Bridget. And David Hogan says hot glass moves. Yep, it do. Okay. So he's got to equalize the temperatures before he starts blowing and doing a lot of other manipulation. Otherwise, it'd be very hard to blow the interior core out and it'd be really tougher to get the shape he wants in the long run. So that's why this heat is so very long, and he'll come back. He's going to use the Marver right now for some additional cooling. The metal really steals the heat from the glass. Sometimes when I'm teaching classes, I'll tell folks that the metal steals the life force from your glass, the heat. And lots of times we want to pull that heat out. By doing what that shaping just then, when he blows, you can see that the lower portion maintains the same shape, but the expansion is above that. Yes, Amanda, the glass does almost look like lava. I'm not exactly sure what temperature lava flows. The studio has a visitor this morning. Let's go take a quick look, see if we can catch him in action. We have some sort of little resident bird. Looks kind of like a finch. It's red, and it flies around at our windows all the time. Well, he's gone now, so let's get back to the glass blowing. Todd's shaping the piece on the Marver still. All the time spent rolling on the metal takes the heat out of the bottom there.
We still have to worry a little bit because we only have one little bird pitching on our windowsill. If we had three,
Sure.
That's 420.
Okay. He cooled the bottom. Now you can see the expansion right in the midst of it, right in the middle of that. But the lower portion is not blowing up. That's because of all the cooling. That glass up near the middle and top needs to be expanded before we start cutting the jack line. It would be possible not to, but if we cut the jack line in there right before that, glass is going to be very, very thick. And we want to thin it out a little bit. So we'll see a combination of marvering, blowing, a little bit of elongation. Barbara says that lava flows at 2080 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, good news, our furnace is at 2030 right now. So yep, it's a lot like lava. Angling downward like that for a moment gives it a little bit of elongation. And now the jacks, the metal blades. Barbara Gould Belzer says likely a house finch. Great. Todd's going to cut this jack line just beyond the end of the pipe, so it'll separate right there. He'll keep cooling the end of the vessel. Richie Taft wants to know if the pink vase from last week is still available. With that, it was 2 weeks ago we did the hyacinth, wasn't it? That wasn't last week, was it? I don't remember. Theta has a better handle on that, Richie. I'll ask her, or she'll answer you here in a minute. I'm really not sure. Using the jacks again to create a constriction or a jack line near the pipe. This is the point where we'll separate later on. And if any of your glass blowers are curious, the reason for the angling of the iron is to make it a little bit easier to control instead of holding it horizontal. A little more inflation, but you'll also notice from all that cooling, the tip, the very end of that is still tapered.
Clown nose.
Yeah, hey, it's all in good fun. Just a little button that you press and says that was easy. Most all of our pieces are made by creating a sphere or nearly spherical shape with a jack line in it, and then we alter the shape with either gravity or centrifugal force. By hanging the piece down and swinging gently, he begins to elongate it. The important part here is to do it slowly and under control. He'll continue to establish the jack line. You can see that the piece is not falling to a point where it's 90 degrees to the iron. If we were doing that horizontally, it could happen very easily. His calipers are set for the measure he wants. So what we'll have to do is actually overinflate it a little bit beyond the diameter we want for the full length. We get a little bit of each, because when he gets this to the point that he's ready to drop it for its full length, he'll need a little bit larger diameter than what the finished product will be, because obviously as the glass stretches toward the floor, it will get narrower. That's why he's holding it at an angle and swinging very gently, nicely under control. And you'll notice, just like at a tennis match, his eyes are on the prize. That cooling will keep the bottom from blowing out too much. We like to keep a kind of thick bottom on the pieces so that when we go ahead and flatten them and put the putty on for the transfer and then eventually take it off, we don't wind up breaking it. He's got the paddle out now. If you watch this piece or a piece similar to this a week ago or so, Todd actually used the newspaper on the bottom of the vessel on the body, and Josh paddled it for him. Not sure if they're going to do that today or not, but we'll see. Notice he's concentrating the heat on the very lowest portion of the vessel. That's because that's the only glass he wants to move. And we all know what kind of glass moves. Well, nobody said it yet. All right, so you can see from the glow there, he's got the heat concentrated on the bottom. Keeps a nice cylindrical shape on that. And then begins to gently start to flatten. Notice how he has the paddle on at a bit of an angle. He doesn't come straight on to the end of it right away and then press it. That could bulge the sides out a little bit. Yes, David Hogan and Bridget and Lynn. Hot, hot, hot. Yes, hot glass move. Okay. Now he's letting that cool a little bit. You can see the pattern starting to show through. Going to paddle a thick bottom. Yes, we are. It's that kind of day in the studio. You gonna paddle for him, or is he?
I don't know.
Okay. He'll ask.
He'll ask.
He'll ask.
What's the safe word? Yeah.
Are you going to?
What's that?
Oh, I thought he asked you.
Safe words are
Yeah.
Julie!
Come on, 37 viewers and your announcer want to know if Josh is going to paddle that thing.
Oh, God, that was so funny. You heard they said that on this post? Oh, my God. What's wrong with those people?
Okay. Karen, the colors are a steel or a gray background with a steel blue covering, okay, and then twice put into the optic mold, which has about 32 ridges, I believe, 32 ridges on that, okay, and then twisted, and that's what's giving him the crisscross pattern showing through on the fret. Now you'll notice that the bottom half of that vessel is hot. So Todd's cooling it a little bit first with the paper, and that allows it not to push in when he uses the paddle. Josh brings the punny, and Todd will cool it just a bit, attach it to the center of the piece, and then he rolls the whole assembly. You can see that both irons and the piece, everything is all aligned. Now he's going to torch the neck a little bit. It got a little bit chilled, and while he hangs out waiting for the punny to cool, he doesn't want that neck to get below 1,000 degrees. But you can see how we've got about 10 feet of steel and a piece of glass in the middle. And now a little bit of water right onto the neckline, support at the bench rail, a tap, and off it comes. Another successful transfer. Way to go, guys. All right, so we've got the transfer, and we've got the colder part of the glass, which was the lip or opening of the vessel up into the glory hole. And as time passes a little, as it just did, you'll see Todd put the whole piece in the glory hole. The short heats that we take we call flashes, and it's just to get the piece warm, staying well above 1,000 degrees. Hello, Kimberly. So good to have you with us. Got 39 of you out there. That's really wonderful. Glad for the crowd today. So now that he's got the bottom half of this vessel done, he's going to work on the top half, which you'll notice is tapered down. And so he'll work on expanding that tapered portion. So it requires that that gets heated. Also, because the neck of that, the jack line, was cold enough to fracture, it takes a little while to reheat. But you can see that the heat is extending about halfway through the piece. Todd's going to check his measurements just to make sure he's getting the size on it he wants. And using the jacks, he can also straighten the lip if he needs to with the hinge. The soffietta or puffer will make it expand where it's hot. So in lieu of steam, as you might have seen Foster do with a steam stick, or any of us for that matter, by using the soffietta, you can control the air pressure. Once we use the steam stick, we're stuck with whatever it's doing. Whatever the heat is in the glass, and however much evaporation of water we get determines the pressure with which it blows out. If we use the soffietta, which is basically a cone, it's sitting right there on the bench, a cone with a long tube attached, we can vary the pressure. So if we're not getting quite the inflation we want, we just blow a little harder. Or we can pause for a moment, let a little of it cool, and then come back. So this time we'll try to get a little closer shot of the pattern for you. Josh is going to paddle, but you can kind of see the pattern in the lower half. In the lower half, as he changes directions and the glass pauses a moment, you can see the pattern develop. So now, a little bit of cooling, and then he'll work on finishing the cylindrical shape. That's right, Kimberly. Hot glass humor. Okay, and it's good to keep the glass moving most all of the time, because that lets you know that it's not going to get cold and break. It is going to be gorgeous, Lynn. The pattern is really nice, and that's from blowing twice in the optic mold. One time twisting one direction, the next time twisting the opposite direction. He's got a lot of the glass moving, but he's got a variety of tools he can use to straighten it out. He can use either his jacks, he can use the newspaper to a degree, he can also use the marver if he so chooses. So it's simply a matter of the artist's choice as to what tool he uses for the process. Also, he can use gravity a little bit to help. That evens it out and also elongates it. You might have noticed that when he took a measurement, he was just a little short of where he wanted before. really get a good view of the pattern, especially toward the bottom where it's cooler. In the upper reaches where the glass is still hot, the incandescence makes it a little harder to see. David Hogan's got a little glass blowing song too, slightly different than mine. Rollin', 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 keep that glass a-rollin'. What show was that from? Anybody besides David Hogan? Rollin', rollin', rollin'.
Is that a dog food commercial or something?
It wasn't the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, no, Josh. No, he does not have a white base, Kristen. It's on clear. Rawhide, that's right, Karen Levi. Yep. But around here, I have an even more annoying song to keep the students turning at the bench. And that is, roll, roll, roll the piece gently down the bench. Anyway. Anything that works, okay? Got to get the message across. So now Todd has got his shape.
You want to go to 3? Yeah, we'll go to 3.
Okay, so he's got his shape. You can see the pattern there as it's cooling off. We'll have pictures posted tomorrow. It's not always easy just to stop the turning so we can get a good picture, but there you are with the view of it, and off to the annealer it goes. Great. Alrighty, into the annealer with another piece. Nice job, Todd. Thank you very much. Alrighty. Okay, so let's go find out what's next and talk a little bit about our giveaways and that sort of stuff. So, here's the giveaway for this piece. This week, the giveaway piece. It's this fan vase. It's got a red base to it. It was coated in gold-colored frit, which is a reducing color. I'll explain that in a minute. And then a random trail of clear glass is run through it, and the clear glass separates the gold so that when the piece is done, that's why you see those random lines running through it. Yes, David, there is a season. Turn, 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 right? Okay, so that's our giveaway piece for next week. And last week's piece was this triangular shaped vase, which went to Vanessa Smith. I hope I say this right, Fendison. Anyway, enter the drawing by getting your comments in. And of course, we like it when you like us or share the videos. And the next thing actually could fit in kind of well with a 420 theme in addition to trails, and that's a smoke vase. All right, Josh, did you specifically choose smoke vase because it's 420?
No,
Huh? Inquiring minds want to know. Okay. So, what's your base color here, Josh?
It's light blue.
Light blue, okay. So he's going to have a light blue base on this, covered in black?
Yes, black.
Okay.
Didn't even think about the smoke base. I mean, that's
Okay.
perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so, oh yeah, the reduction. Let me explain that while he's warming that up. There's a couple of different things that some chemical formulas of glass do. One of them's called reduction, and that's what you saw in that little fan vase over there, and several other pieces that we make. And reduction happens in the glass when you heat it. We typically torch it with what would be called a reducing or oxygen-starved flame. So when a flame is rich in gas, starved of oxygen, we call it a reducing flame. And we can do that on our glory holes, but it's a little more complicated. We have to cut the air supply. And no, I'm not going to sing any air supply songs. However, I am all out of love. Okay, so anyway, so that's what, and what happens with the reduction is when you hit that particular type of glass, the flame is basically sucking the oxygen from the glass. And that's why it changes appearance gets kind of shiny, and that's called reduction. Josh has his, what is that, tourmaline? Or
No, this is the sky blue.
Sky blue? Okay. The other thing you'll see us work with sometimes is called a striking glass. And that's like the copper ruby that we used in quite a few of our pieces. And the copper ruby and other striking glasses, there's a chemical change in the growth of crystals that change the intensity of the color by continued heating and cooling. And the more we do that, yes, she is so lost without you. I love it. Okay, so Josh has got his robin's egg blue there, his sky blue. He's going to gather over that. And the reason we do call this a smoke vase has nothing to do with the 420 or any other activities we might participate in. It has to do with the final application of a frit, which gives it kind of a smoky color. So right now, he's picking up the black. This is going to coat the outside. One or two through the black, Josh, or several?
Several.
Several? Okay. What shape is this going to be?
It's going to be a taller face.
Okay.
With a folded lip to expose the blue.
Okay. So the folded lip will be something you haven't seen a lot of. We've done it a few times on the broadcasts. That refers to after we've transferred to the putty and are opening the vessel, we fold the upper reaches over so that the inside layer, which in this case is the sky blue, will come on out and be displayed on the outside of the vessel. Todd's over there right now preparing the white, which will be the smoke in this. And really, if any of you insist on some platters, of course we can do smoke gets in your eyes. But this white frit over here is what will give the impression of being smoke. In fact, this is a powder, isn't it, Todd? Yeah. So this is a powder. It'll go on a little bit thinner, and when Josh applies it, it's going to be a very wispy or smoke-like appearance. Josh is going to take several coatings of the black on here. Todd's going through the white quite a bit. You'll gather over this, won't you, Josh? Okay. We'll be gathering not only to increase the volume, but also to separate the layers. It works a lot better, and the white becomes much more visible. It doesn't get blurred out if there's a little bit of clear glass spacing. Yes, they asked me how I knew. Smoke 'em if you got 'em. Oh, Smokey and the Bandit. Good one. Yes, David. All right. Eastbound and Down. Who sang that?
Eastbound and Down?
Eastbound and Down.
Wasn't that a show? That's an HBO show. Right?
Jerry Reed. Well, I think for the movie anyway. Anyhow. Okay. He's going to get a lot of black on this. And then Josh will be gathering some clear. Todd's probably going to get about 8 or 10 coatings of white on that down there. They want to have plenty of it, and then when it gets very hot and then the powdery glass is dripped on and laid out very thinly, that's what's going to give it the wispy appearance. So you see they're talking back and forth about where they stand in the process. Here we go with the cherry wood cup, the block we call it. It's a cup on a handle. Cools the outer layer. He can blow gently, trap the air. See, almost no effort at all in that blow. You can see a little bit of inflation. He's not interested in getting this huge yet. Just make sure we got plenty of air in it and a nice shape to gather over. The shape of the glass matters a great deal when you gather. That kind of rounded or bullet-nosed or pear shape. This is what the block naturally gives us. It's really ideal for gathering. If the glass is too long, the smoking lamp is lit. Yeah, okay. So if the glass is too long and you gather over it, you run the risk of it getting so hot that it runs away from you. Kimberly, this past weekend's show went great. We had quite a few people in. I did a bunch of demonstrations up at Foster's Bench for the audience. People were coming in, enjoying a few refreshments, individually packaged, I might add, and everybody socially distanced and wearing masks, except for me. You can't do that when you're blowing glass. But at any rate, we had quite a few folks come through, and it was a beautiful weekend, and thanks for asking. Now with a slightly bigger block, Josh is getting the shape and everything, and this will be the layer that he puts the white on. Will you do a gather after that?
Yes.
Okay.
So if I didn't do a gather of clear glass and started to blow it out, you get like a texture on the surface.
Ah, okay. Actually, Ted, we will be using the trailer bench for the last demonstration. Foster will use that. So for those of you that aren't familiar with the glass blowing process, you can sometimes see random trails applied to the glass, and sometimes you can see some that have much more of a pattern. And we have a little setup here in the studio that allows us to get a really nice spiraled pattern when we put a trail on. Now a little bit of coordination between the glass blowers as to, are you ready? No, I'm not ready yet. Are you ready? No. What do you want to have for lunch today? I don't know. What do you want to have for lunch today? Yeah. Okay, so Josh is going to get the piece under control, let it cool a little bit, and in a few moments Todd will be bringing over the white, and we're going to take a slightly different position here to watch the smoky trail go on. Stick around till the end, David. Okay. Todd's angling the iron over there, getting a little bit of shaping to it, even as he heats it. He'll let Todd and Josh know that he's coming with it. You can see it's very, very hot. Josh grips the iron with his shears, and now look at these little trails of glass going on, completely random pattern.
Here. Good. Here. It's slow. Here.
Okay. Now, as that heats up and he melts it in, that's going to give him that wispy, smoky look to the exterior of this vase. Yeah, Barbara, that's a little bit different. That's basically a random trail, but a lot of it is concentrated in together. That's so he can get that smoky look. Susan Haas says you missed a spot. Done well, you missed several spots. It's when you go to do a random trail and you get more like a coating that you know you goofed. You know, it is really kind of wicked looking. I agree with you there, Jennifer. But now as he heats it and starts marvering it, sealing the white against the body, you can see where there's a large concentration of the white. It'll look a lot different than the areas where there's just thin lines. So he's going to keep heating that, melting it, rolling it in. He'll use the marver for a bit. He'll probably come back at some point and use the blocks. Get a nice shape to it, kind of a uniform thickness. It's not going to be completely uniform because he put all that stuff on the surface, but by melting it in and pressing it into the glass, he's not going to have any inordinately heavy spots on it. It'll all should come out smoothly. So now you can really kind of see how this smoke pattern is going to evolve. Everything you see there will stretch as he blows it out. So the areas of the deepest concentration will still be concentrated, but not so much.
So if we did this with just a solid chunk of white, it would look completely different. You would just have solid lines going around. But since we picked up powder, it kind of gives us that kind of fluffy, kind of smoke-like effect. You kind of see like denser lines or spots.
It does look like yarn or spaghetti draped on it. Good analogy there, Barbara. We'll blow it out a little bit more. And you can see what he's talking about, the effect of the powder as opposed to just solid lines of white glass. So be sure to like, share, and comment. Comments what's going to get you entered in the drawing. We got a beautiful little trailed piece as our giveaway this week. We'll show you that between pieces in a few moments. But for right now, we've got Josh making the smoke face. The block keeps the shape under control, gives it a nice uniform appearance. He doesn't want this getting too long yet. He's going to gather over it. And as I told you a few minutes ago, if he's going to gather over this and it's too long, it could actually start pulling the glass off of the pipe more. So we want a nice compact shape here. Thank you, Pamela Johnson Ritter. We appreciate that. She says, you guys always do amazing work. So creative. We appreciate that. Now he's going to let this cool considerably, and then he's going to gather over it. Right now he's going to wax his jacks. The jacks have to glide across the glass. So by holding the blades up at the glory hole, and then coming over here where there's some beeswax on the bench, you can see it's smoking. He's just getting a nice coating of wax on there so the jacks will go into the glass and not scar it and move easily across it. And won't stick to it. So you can see there's some heat on the end of it there. It's kind of a brighter color. The upper reaches of it are darker. They've cooled off. He'll probably let this go another few seconds or so once he's sure that there's no motion in it. See how he momentarily stops the turn? If there's no motion when he's stopping the turn, it's pretty cool. All right, into the furnace. He's going in at an angle. He's trying not to trap any bubbles or anything. He wants uniform coverage, and he hadn't turned until just now. When he's got it fully submerged, he brings it to level, and he's going to strip it off on the marver. That's so we can reuse the glass. So he's stripped that off. It's going to cool for a few moments. While it's cooling, Foster's going to grab a pair of tweezers or perhaps a pair of shears. You want a larger block? Okay. And as that puddle of glass on the marver cools, he'll be able to grab it with the tweezers and with an underhand toss, put it right back into the furnace. Let's watch Foster's softball form here. Or maybe horseshoes, whatever it is. Okay, so the glass is folded a little, still very, very hot. He's going to grab it with the tweezers, take it over, and toss it in the door. Ta-da! You'd be surprised how many times people toss that glass and it gets plastered on the front of the furnace. Once they do that, we don't let them do it very often. somebody else will take over. All right, so now we've got a coating of clear all around the vessel. The smoke has taken place, and now it's going to be a matter of shaping, cooling, blowing, and stretching. Because of the size of this and the shape he wants, Josh is going to use the newspaper. Notice how he's cooling off the lower region down toward the tip of the vessel. That way it won't blow out so much when he starts to inflate. He's blowing gently, free blowing, not using the trapped air. When you saw the expansion was primarily in the middle. Rolling the glass on the metal marver sucks the heat out of the glass, and he'll come back again. And you'll notice he's getting a little bit of that American football shape. That's going to help him with the blowout. Now he's going to reheat. The important part about that marvering was it sucked the heat out of the lower part of the vessel. When he goes into the glory hole, it's all getting hot, but it's not all starting from the same place. Yes, Barbara, the clear does help with that. By rolling it on the marver again, he removes a little more heat, and now watch what happens as he blows it out. The bottom still has that tapered shape. Most of the inflation is toward the middle and the top. And then what he'll do is grab his jacks and commence with the jack line. So Josh told us he's making a tall vase. Is it going to be tapered or cylindrical?
Tapered.
Tapered.
Yeah, tapered to the bottom.
So he's going to inflate this a little more than he needs along its length, but this kind of teardrop shape will probably stay there. Now that he's come back to the bench, gets right on it with fresh heat, can cut his jack line down a lot tighter. You can see that the glass near the blowing iron is narrow. There's a gradual taper as it goes out, and it gets much wider at the bottom. So this is kind of the general shape he's going to keep, but he's going to elongate it. He's going to make it taller. As the area up closer to the pipe begins to cool, you can begin to see that smoky effect. Now he's heating mostly the area he wants any motion from. He's not fully in there, it's most of the way, but he doesn't want that jack line to get really, really hot. He wants most of the heat concentrated in the lower portion of the vessel. And he'll be coming out here in just a moment. And now for some gentle elongation. Notice he's not swinging that really hard. He just makes a full rotation, and now we've got the elongated vessel. The diameter has decreased. That's why he started out much larger, and that gave him the lengthening. And this one's going to taper from the bottom to the top. When we swing it like that, sometimes it gets like a little flat spot on the edge. That's not a problem. We simply paper it and blow a little later on. Important at this point to get the length he wants from it. And picking up our aptly named blow hose. And the beauty of a blow hose is you can inflate the glass at the same time you're using a hand tool. Yes, he could be a twirler with the band. Yep, we're going to nominate him for that. Alrighty, so like I said, with the blow hose in place, he can now sit at the bench He can use a hand tool, either the jacks or the newspaper, to control the piece and at the same time blow through the blow hose, and it all happens right in front of him and he can see what it's doing. The newspaper is acting like a straight edge almost to change the profile, get it nice and smooth, and wherever he notices any aberration, he just blows a little bit, inflates it right there, and then uses that paper to straighten. And now you can really see the smoke appearing in the upper reaches. Again, the blow hose allows a little air pressure. The paper holds the shape in as he blows against it. And you can see him move it back and forth as he detects places that he wants to cool it or hold it in instead of letting it blow out. It'd be entirely possible without the paper there to just create random bulges in this.
I'm going to heat the bottom a little and then we'll do the cheater when I go back.
It's really important to accomplish that over several steps instead of trying to do it all at once. You got a lot better control and there's a little bit of more ease in working. You might also notice that the glass isn't quite as hot as before. Now they're going to put the cheater on it with a little bit to help with security. There we go. He'll flatten that against the piece a little bit, make it kind of conical, and then press it in. If he needs to flatten it anymore, he'll take it back for a reheat and do some, and then in just a little bit we'll have another transfer. We don't really know, Antoinette, what's going to happen if the Ren Fair is held this year. We're really enjoying these videos, so we'll keep you advised as to what's going on. This is a lot of fun for us. So again, Josh is holding the piece in place, the sides with the paper, giving a little air, and at the same time, Todd's paddling the bottom to get it perfectly flat. If Josh sees any places that are a little bit out of line, he simply puts the paper to them. All right, so now we've got the lower, well, we've probably got the lower 3/4 of this vessel shaped. Josh will be giving it a flash.
Man, I'm sweating today.
What's that?
I said I'm sweating today. It's hot
Oh
today.
yeah, it's warm. All right, he's going to give that a flash. They're going to do the transfer. You want a small torch for the neck? Nope. Okay.
All right. What's the worst that can happen?
What's the worst that can happen? Famous last words. Okay, so with the size of this piece, the putty needs to be a little more substantial, especially in diameter, to make a good contact with the bottom and then hold it so that the piece doesn't sag and supports the weight. It's not excessive weight, but because it's long, it's almost as if it increases the feel of the weight.
Not Bruce doesn't say anything.
So now if Todd's lucky, Josh is going to let the putty sight cool before he breaks it off. Or if Josh just wants to mess with him,
Hey, it's just less.
it's his piece, right? Little bit of water on the neck and away we go. And there it is. You can see a little bit of motion in the punty, but not a lot. It cools sufficiently. Todd will bring it up close to the glory hole. They'll start working on heating the tip, the lip of the piece. And then Josh, as he mentioned earlier, is going to fold this over. It's going to have the upper inch or two of the piece folded back over the top. And that's going to expose that sky blue interior. First, you'll want to make sure of his shaping, get the mouth round and flatten everything so that when he does this exterior fold, it all goes down smoothly. Yeah, the really nice thing about this folded lip is it gives you an idea of the color that's inside. Quite often, with this dense black on the outside, it'd be possible to construct this piece and you wouldn't even know there was blue in it, and you would have just wasted your blue until somebody came along and looked in it. You get a really good idea of the smoke color on there from that random trail. He's using the newspaper to keep the sides shaped. He's looking for any places where it's not running true or symmetrical. And at the same time Todd's protecting his arm, he's flattening the lip when Josh wants him to with the other paddle. So if there's any work to be done on the portion that is 7 or 8 inches down from the lip, it's time to get that done right now so that he can fold the lip back over. We'll be bringing the piece progressively further out of the glory hole on these reheats so that he's only heating the portion he wants to move. Got another view over here as they work together at the bench. Todd has the 2 paddles again at the ready. Josh in with the paper to control the shape. Todd protecting his arm. At the ready with the paddle. Josh didn't need it. He created a constriction with the paper, and now he's going to start to open that lip up. He's going to gradually bring that all the way back until it makes contact with the exterior. He's getting the folded lip going first, Antoinette. David Hogan says you look like you're guiding airplanes on the runway with those 2 paddles.
Hey, I got my certification, Marshall.
All right, now he's going to use the jacks to lift the lip up more and bring it back toward the body.
They can roll it all the way out.
And then he makes contact with the back edge of the jacks. And now the lip is sealed, and that's going to be a beautiful sky blue color right there, that ring on the top.
Hey, John, can you grab the Parchopies and paddle for me? Sure. Open the lip and paddle at the same time. I'm going to pay for open the lip and paddle.
Okay, so now Josh has asked Todd to grab the Parchopies, open the lip and paddle at the same time, but being a master at rubbing his head and patting his belly, Todd has no problem with that, and this is going to allow Josh to use the paper to shape. We're going to walk around here so you can see all this action happening. Josh holds the sides in with the paper. He knows the shape he wants. Todd applies pressure to the lip area right there behind that blue band and begins to pull it out. And they'll decide, Josh will decide how far he wants it. Now, if that's all he wants on this vase, they're done.
Yeah, one more time just to straighten it.
One more time to straighten it.
One more time to straighten it. And pull the lip up.
And remember, that's that powder glue on the inside.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We'll need the Ed McMahon.
So he's going to get just enough heat in it that he can straighten the sides with the paper, and he'll go through the same process again. The paddle keeps the lip flat, but it also keeps it from opening excessively. So you can see what a beautiful contour it has right there. Todd has the carchofes against the lower portion of the lip, the paddle holding things in and flattening. Josh moving back and forth with the paper, and wherever he sees a little spot that he doesn't particularly like, he comes back and straightens it. Points to a little part that he identifies as what? And as we say in the music industry, one more time. He needs to get just enough heat to manipulate it, but not so much heat that it starts falling out of shape. The newspaper is what's going to be the key to that. It's going to set the sides on it. As he sets the sides, Todd just keeps the lip and the top where they want them. It is a fabulous design, Lynn, and all of you should be able to see that smoky effect now taking place on top of the black glass.
Yeah, it's just like one quick on the barber.
We'll wipe off the marver for him here, and he's got just a little area on it that he's not really wild about with the shape. So he's going to roll it on the marver just to give it basically a larger straight edge. That's what the marver is serving as, is a straight edge. At this point it's really difficult and it's important to keep the angle of the pipe correct so that as much of the glass as you need is in contact with the table. And they've got that done, and he took that little wobble out of it, and there it goes. Now, a little bit of that wobble occurred probably because of the white in it. And the white behaves differently than the other colors. And if it pulls or tightens against it, Root, we might make a lid for it later. I don't know. That'll be up to Josh. For right now, though, this baby's nice and straight. You can see where the blue ring is on the outside there, where the lip was folded over. The color will become much more pronounced after annealing. We'll have pictures tomorrow. So here we go. A little bit of water on the punty joint. Tap of the iron and off it comes. And into the annealer. Marvelous. All right, let's hear it for Josh. Way to go, man. Beautiful piece. Come on, give him some thumbs up and some hearts. Give him all that stuff. And Todd, too. Thank you, Todd.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah. All righty. So, let's check things out back here for a moment before we get going into another piece. So, our theme today is trails on glass. And we did the fishnet vase. That was a custom order that Todd did. Josh just did the smoked vase. And Foster is going to make a dotted platter. And these plates right here are done by putting trails on the glass and then letting the trail separate. So quite often when we put a trail on the glass, we do it in a very organized manner. We have a little threading machine, we call it, over here. And we get a nice spiral thread, like you might have seen a few weeks ago on this beautiful rolling decanter, okay? But another thing we can do with these is if we put the glass into an optic mold and blow it and make the ridges, then if we put a trail on it, imagine where every place there's a high spot on the ridges, it forms a little bridge of your trail glass over the piece. And then if you suddenly introduce it to a lot of heat, then those bridges break and you're left with the spots. Have we ever opened the annealer and found a surprise? Probably one of the, yeah, that's happened quite a bit. One time we had what looked like, what do they call them? The little cans, the drop biscuits. Somebody had run the heat up to about 1400 degrees with a set of ornaments in it, and they all fused together. But we have different adventures that we could tell you about, but we're not going to go into detail on that. So congratulations to Vanessa, who won last week's prize, the triangular vase. This is the prize for this week. If you'd like to see the process that something like this is made in, check out our YouTube page. This morning we did a very similar design with a trail. The random trail on this red vase is the clear that you see throughout, and like I said, you can see it done on YouTube. So back to this is what we're going to see Foster making next. Are you going to do a little stem on it, Foster?
I'm going to do a stem and a foot.
A stem and a foot. So he's going to do something like this. Will be on the bottom of it, a little stem and a foot. And you'll see this pattern develop. What colors are you using?
We're doing a blue wrap that'll make the dots over clear, and then we'll pick up the corn yellow over that for the corn yellow background.
Ramiro, you looking for a job here? He's prompting me. Yes, folks, remember the gift certificates and t-shirts. Thank you, Ramiro. Let me pick up the optic mold and ask Josh to hold it for a moment. And this is just to explain what I was talking about earlier. So you can imagine the glass being blown out and it goes out into those ridges. Then we take it and we put a trail around the outside of the glass. Where the glass touches the peaks, it's going to stay in place. Where it connects between those two peaks, it's going to be like a little bridge of glass. And by letting the glass get very cold and then suddenly blasting it with heat right in front of the burner tip, all of those little bridges will break off, and all we're left with is the dots that wind up on top of the peaks. So that's what you're going to see here. And this is our threading station. It's really not a machine. We provide the motive force. But what's interesting about this is these wheels are set at an angle, and Josh is going to spin it for us, and you can see it makes the pipe move, and we can move it forward or back depending on which side we're going from. From this side, then this little notch here, the glass blower that has the trail bit brings it up and touches it to the piece. So I just wanted to give you an idea of what it is you're going to see, because it's going to happen fast. Because this is one fast man. Okay, let's roll.
Yeah, there you go. All right.
So Josh is going to get a little bit of glass on the end of a small iron. And with that, he's going to pick up the small chunk of blue that Foster mentioned. I think we got it on the wrong pipe. Foster picked it up for Josh, but now he's going to take it off of his pipe, and Josh is going to grab it. There we go. Now Josh will melt that in. Yeah, that's a pretty good one, David Hogan. Burning bridges. Yep. The bridges of Montgomery County. Okay, so Foster now is going to get the remnants of that blue off of his pipe and begin gathering clear. Josh, in the meantime, is going to shape that blue glass into a point and make the piece for the trail. So Foster will be taking a couple of gathers here. The first one just to get a bubble established in it and gather a little glass. Good day, everyone in here watching. Oh, from Queensland, Australia. Holy smoke. Wonderful to have you, Derica. Wow. Queensland, Australia, Foster.
Australia.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get us a map here one of these days of the world and start putting pins in it for where everybody's from that we've had on the videos. Foster's again using the wooden cup. We call it a block. It's made of cherry wood. He's cooled it and shaped it. He'll pressurize the air in the pipe and force a bubble to come out. That'll be the interior of the bowl. It will open from there. Most of our pieces, we make the lower half to 2/3 first, and then we transfer to a punty or pontal and finish the piece out. So Foster's getting set up for his next gather. He'll take another gather here, shape it up so that it goes into this optic mold. And that's what I was showing you just a few minutes ago that will allow him to create the ridges that the trail will go on. Yeah, I think the map thing's a pretty good idea. I think we got to work on that. So let's see, Queensland, Australia. My guess is that it's already would be tomorrow for us. Are you on April 21st there already? We had someone from Guam on one of our broadcasts, and that seemed to be the case. So, yeah, you got to be a couple hours behind them. All right, Foster's got the second gather on. He shaped it a little bit. He needs to get it to where it will go directly down into this mold. Then he'll blow very, very hard. Then out he comes with the ridges. There we go. That's what he's going to use for the trail. All righty, Derek. Yeah, well, you know, I got no filter on the reactions. Ted's asking about these irons that are laying up beside the glory hole. Actually, this is the way a lot of glass blowers used to preheat their irons. But I'm going to come over here because we're going to see the action right here. Foster has got the piece with the ridges waiting. Josh will bring it over. They'll tag the glass up to it, and then Foster will begin turning towards us. And you'll see a thin trail added. Josh pulls back, Foster starts turning, and we got a thin trail of glass going all the way down the length. And a little bit stuck to it, but we just tap it off. Now he's going to let that cool a great deal. Let me get it from the side so they can see the trail. So there's our beautiful spiral trail. But now by letting that cool off significantly, even holding it in front of a fan down here, he's going to put it up into the glory hole right in front of the burner tip. And we'll keep our fingers crossed and all those little bridges will pop. And there are the dots. And that's how we get them. So they're not always completely uniform. Sometimes the glass a little thicker, but they all broke out. Beautiful job. Okay, so those dots then are what you will see on the inside of Foster's finished bowl. Much as you see the blue inside this green bowl, there we had some yellow inside of red. So now Foster's going to get this all shaped up, possibly put a little more air in it, and then he'll gather over and apply the yellow to the outside. Yes, Kristen, we think it's pretty cool too. Yeah, it did look a bit like a glass doorknob, David. So we've got the dots. Now he's going to cool the bottom, the tip of the glass, so it doesn't blow out excessively. And he's also going to put some twist to this. You can see the curl here in this bowl, and as he's turning, he's letting it dig into the marver a little bit, and you can see that radial appearance as it begins to twist. How you like that description, Foster? Or radial? Okay. Well, so anyway, I'm not sure if I answered Ted's question a couple of minutes ago, but those irons that are laying up into the opening of the glory hole for Todd's glory hole there are simply preheating. He's making cats, and he makes so many of them that rather than take up a lot of real estate in the pipe warmer, he just does it right there. Foster will block this now. You see a little gentle twist in it. And now just a little bit of air maybe, or maybe not. Yep, there he goes. There. Got the bubble well established. Now it's time to let things cool, and maybe even encourage the cooling by the use of the block. Again, we have to cool this glass a little bit or let the heat dissipate some way so that when we gather, it doesn't collapse. And while we're waiting on that, I'll take my cue from Ramiro and say, we do have these beautiful t-shirts for sale, and we've also got gift certificates if you would like to order one, and we'd be happy to fill that for you. Foster is back at the pipe cooler right now. He's cooling the iron off a little bit. He'll take a gather, then come up and gather the yellow onto top of the fresh, clear glass. I can't really, oh, here we go. Derica, I hope I'm getting that right. Derica, or Derica. Is Queensland anywhere near Canberra? I'm just curious. My sense of geography for Australia is really off. Okay, so now he's going to gather the yellow over the clear. And he'll probably do this a couple of times. He'll heat it in, and that's going to form the yellow outside or background for this platter. At this stage of the game, we're heating almost all the glass. We don't want to just heat zones of it. We need to get it all hot in this case so that the yellow sticks on. It's north of Canberra. Oh, okay. I have a couple of good friends that are glass blowers that had been in Canberra. It's there's a well-known glass or art school there that has a glass program. Alrighty, getting more yellow on there. You'll notice that it doesn't appear yellow as it's hot when he gathers it up. The heat causes the metal oxides to kind of change color, but we can certainly say the piece is going to be that yellow color, not the red that's in the middle after it cools off. Foster's done with the yellow. It'll be a platter, Ted, a platter on with a stem and a foot. Again, cooling the lower half of the vessel, shaping the upper half a little bit. Once things are under control, a little air in it, you can see that round out, and now this is going to be a beautiful shape right here. Oh my goodness, it's 2:30 a.m. in Queensland. Well, I hope you were having a good time up till 2:30 a.m. Most of us, we wouldn't get up that early, but sometimes we've stayed up that late or later. All right, into another optic mold now. Press it in place, seat it, and then blow. And out we come with this set of ridges, and there we go. So it's mostly looking like the yellow. You don't see the bits inside yet. No twist on this, is there, Foster? No twist on this. And that's going to actually help later on. You'll notice that it has those ridges in it. It has thick and thin portions to the glass then. And when he eventually spins this out in more of a platter shape, the extra weight there causes a slightly different shape than if you'd had a piece that was all of uniform thickness. He's using the jacks to cut the jack line, a point of separation from the blowing iron. The newspaper cools the bottom. I'm standing in his way of getting to the marver, otherwise he might have cooled it there. And here he goes blowing it out some. Actually, if I was in his way, he'd just say, "Move, Bruce." But he'll probably come back, set the jack line a little bit more, blow it out a little further, a little more diameter. There you go. Foster and I made a few of these over the weekend. It was a lot of fun. They're beautiful pieces. Oh yeah, well, Derica says everybody did a great job on these pieces previously. We really appreciate the compliments. We appreciate any interaction, really. Okay, here he goes with the jacks. Reestablishing that neckline, the point of separation from the blowpipe. A little bit more air to increase the diameter. The newspaper in the neckline helps to cool it a little bit and stabilize it. What's the ring on the pipe? Up toward the handle, are you talking about there, Rude? Okay, so Foster's going to mark the center of the bottom and hand it off to Josh. So Rude, just let me know, that's a color there on the blowpipe, a little extra color. And the ring that's at the top of the iron, let me get a shot of that, is really just a collar, and we use that for hanging it from a yoke, like that piece of metal that's sitting up there. So, I hope in some way that we managed to answer your question there, Rude. Foster's come back with the glass for the stem. Josh will bring the piece over, hold it upside down so that Foster can put the stem on the bottom of the bowl. He lays it on his foot and holds it upright. Cuts a little line right there to help it separate from the gathering iron. And with his shears, he guides the pipe into position, drops it on the center, and cuts it free. Fern, he marked the center with a small piece of chalk. That's why he stabbed at it, because Foster doesn't believe in a long piece of chalk, and his fingers get too doggone close to the hot glass. So he just kind of taps at it, and that's really all he needs. As you can tell, I like giving him a hard time. He's cutting in for this stem now. And creating that little ball shape at the end. And he'll probably go back and take a quick reheat and work on that, although it might be time, yeah. A little bit of a reheat, and then he's going to use his paper pegs.
He accidentally caught it.
What's that?
He accidentally caught the gather on it. Kind of neat.
Oh, yeah.
The clear glass there.
Yeah, we'll show you that in a moment. Okay, so Foster's coming back now. He's one of the few glass blowers in the country that uses paper pegs or cardboard blades. Oh, he's not going to use them this time. He's using his regular jack. Oh, he is. Here's the treat. So those are actually cardboard tubes. They steal a lot less heat than any other tool. They're nicely rounded, give them a soft, gentle shape. You can use that for the final shaping of the stem and the bottom of the vessel. He'll hand that off to Josh. And what I didn't notice that Josh was pointing out to me was when he cut that off and had that gather of glass, it actually hit this and pulled a little bit of glass off on the nail end. But you notice, just like we always say at the Art of Fire, it's not what you make, it's what you can fix. And he came back and recovered a beautiful stem right from that. And that's why it actually pulled it out. It was a little longer than normal. I was over here talking and looked over and just thought, I wonder why Foster made that stem longer than normal. And now we know the answer. And he fixed it beautifully. All right, bottoms up with the bowl again. Here comes the foot. Clip it off. Josh will go immediately to horizontal to present it to Foster. And here we go with the footboard. A really handy tool. Flatten it a little bit and then pinch it between the two pieces of wood, catching it in that notch and thinning it out. Gets a nice thin edge on it, and then he'll go back for a reheat to finish shaping up the foot. Give it a beautiful taper and everything. Josh is going to go ahead and start preparing the punty right now. Foster will be back to the bench. Colors, if you're inquiring about this piece on the interior, we have a small bit of blue that was trailed on and then dots formed from it. The outer portion is orange. I'm sorry, yellow. It looks orange now. Okay, this tool Foster's using right now is carbide? Carbon bar, and it's just shaping the foot to a really pretty profile and flattening the end. Josh will bring him the punty here in just one moment. They'll attach it to the bottom and begin the transfer process. He'll place it in the center, and then what he'll do is proceed to roll everything. You can see both irons are turning, the glass is right centered in between, and when this is all centered up, it looks like one smooth motion. Nothing's bobbing up and down. A little bit of water, a tap of the pipe, the glass is intentionally broken free, and there we go. And you can actually see some of the blue dots in the end of it there. Josh brings it over to begin the reheating process of the lip, the opening of the vessel, and now after a few seconds, Foster will also start flashing it all to make sure that it all stays above 1,000 or 1,100 degrees. Heat's going to concentrate in the top right now because that's where he needs to work.
So carbide, is that what they put Han Solo in?
Yeah, carborundum. Yeah. Yeah, let's make our tools out of that. No, was it carbonite? Carbonite? Oh, come on, somebody's a Star Wars fan out there. I can't remember what they froze Han Solo in.
Han Solo's carbonite. Carbonite?
Carbonite, okay. Alrighty. Look, Foster's saying, I bring these guys in here and they can't stay serious for 2 minutes. I'm making a piece, give me a break. All right, so you saw how small the opening of the vessel was. That's where the constriction was from the jack line. So now it's all about open that up. Whereas last week it was all about the vase. Okay. He uses the jack plates to open it gently, and in just a few moments he'll use the steam cone on it.
After a reheat.
Yeah. So the steam cone will go in, the water will evaporate, forming steam and blowing the sides out. So it's necessary now to give it all a flash heat so the foot doesn't crack. Then he'll heat the body. Anybody ever told you you have a hot body?
Just my wife.
Good.
Me too.
Moving right along. But he needs to get the body of that vessel hot so that when he introduces the steam cone, it will expand. And that's where we're headed right now, folks. Right out of the gutter and into the steam cone. Okay. He's going to chill the lip a little bit so it doesn't fold over, and then he'll steam it out. There you can see the expansion in the middle of the vessel. And now he's going to work toward opening that lip out some. He'll take a reheat and continue that on out. You can see the dots inside There we go. Alrighty. So now it's a process of opening this up, forming the platter shape, and away we go. Remember to like, share, and comment. If you comment, it gets you entered in the drawing for next week's piece, which is our next week's giveaway, which is a beautiful little fan vase. Wow, Ted Scott says that in fire science they were taught that 1 cubic centimeter of water becomes 1,100 cubic centimeters of steam if converted correctly. All right. Notice that he's opening up the lip. He's going to bring that out to almost straight sides. And from there is where he'll start applying the heat to spin it out. And there's your beautiful pattern of the dots inside. They'll become a lot more prevalent after the piece is annealed and cooled off. So we'll step back a little bit out of Foster's way. Now he's going to apply the heat so that the rim of the vessel starts heating up, and then he'll increase the rotational speed, and that's what's going to flare it out, and that'll be the centripetal force. And it turns gently at first, gets it moving. You'll be able to see a little bit of wobble in it. Then as it heats more and more, he'll begin to spin faster and faster. When it starts to approach the point it would hit the sides of the glory hole, he takes it out of the glory hole, spins real fast. Now, inclining at a bit of an angle and keeping the rotation going gets him a beautiful ruffle in it, and the points where the glass was heavier from the optic ridges are the ones that extend out the most. And there's our beautiful dotted pattern, the blue inside of yellow. This piece will be photographed tomorrow and on our website or on our Facebook page. I'm going to apply just a little heat for some stabilization, and then he'll bring it over.
Yeah, we learned about the 2 gloves.
So he's going to take his butter knife and chip around the punty joint. In a moment, he's going to hand the pipe off to Josh, because this weekend we had a couple of adventures where Foster tried to catch it with one hand. Okay, a tap of the pipe, the putty comes off, and there we are with the finished vessel and into the annealer. Let's hear it for Foster. Amazing job, Foster. Beautiful. Okay, so be sure to keep those comments going, and you'll be entered in the drawing for next week's prize, which is this beautiful little fan vase. We'd like to thank you all for joining us. And as we said earlier, the theme for today was trails. So how can we avoid saying, happy trails to you until we meet again?